As you're working with Angular, you will of course also from time to time encounter errors, and therefore you need to know how to debug your Angular applications and how to fix those errors. And that's exactly what we'll take a look at in this section, because we'll explore how you can make sense of error messages Angular might throw at you and how you can fix the underlying errors with help of those messages. You will also learn how you can debug logical errors, so errors in your code, bugs in your code that might not actually cause an error message, but that still produce wrong results. And we'll take a look at the Angular developer tools, what that is and why that might be a useful addition to your tool belt. Now, for this section, I prepared a brand new starting project, and it's essentially the finished project from the previous section, but I added some minor errors to it. So you should use the attached starting project. Then once you downloaded it, run npm install once so that you have all those dependencies installed, and then npm start to bring up that development server. Or at least you can try, because you will be greeted by an error message when you try to do that. And that's then what we'll start with. We'll take a look at that error message, we'll try to understand it, and we'll, most importantly, try to fix the underlying error. So we got an error message here in the terminal when we try to start this project. And most Angular error messages are thankfully pretty helpful and often easy to understand. For example here, the error message is that this type here, this object type, is not assignable to type string. So I'm trying to use a value that has this shape, this type, in a place where a string value is expected. That's the error message here in this case. But it actually doesn't stop there. Pretty much all Angular error messages then also try to show you the code that's causing the problem. So here we learn that the problem stems from the app component HTML file, and there line 13. This part here is the column, you can ignore that, but the line number is often helpful. And it even shows us the problematic line of code and highlights the part that's causing this error. So it looks like it's this property assignment, this input assignment here, that's causing this error message. And that's therefore always how you should analyze those error messages. Don't panic if you get one. Don't stop developing and ask for help. Instead, take a look at the error message, because chances are that it will actually explain pretty well what the problem is, and you can therefore also often easily find a fix for the problem. So here the fix is to make sure that we pass a string value to that user ID property instead of the entire selected user object, because it needs a string value here, and we are passing an object right now, and clearly that's not right. So to fix this error, we can go to this app component HTML file, and then there I actually also get a hint in my IDE. Because that's also pretty good about Angular and the IDE support offered for Angular by most IDEs. For example, Visual Studio Code with the Angular language server extension installed will catch and highlight many errors right here in your code before you even try to run it. So here we could have identified this problem even without running the code, just by going through our code files. Or at the point of time where we write this code, we could have seen immediately that something's wrong because we got these red squiggly lines here. And you can then also always hover over those red squiggly lines in your IDE to get an error message here as well. And it's of course the same error message in the end here, that we're passing a value of this shape in a place where a string value is expected. And of course here the fix then is to actually access the ID property on selected user, which then gives us a string value because it is that ID, that string ID, that should be passed as a value for this user ID property here. And that's how we can fix this error, but even more importantly, that's how you can analyze those error messages and how you can see them either in the terminal or in the IDE. And both, of course, can be helpful.